Hello everybody, welcome to our webinar. This time on topic, what is coming in IDEA StatiCa 22.0. Today's presenters are Adam and Janko. How are you guys today?
Hello to everyone. Very good. Looking forward to tell you about the new version.
Hello and greetings also from my side. Hey, hi.
And myself, Petra. All of us are product engineers who provide technical support for IDEA StatiCa products, give the trainings. Some of you maybe know us in person. Third, organization stuff. We are using GoToWebinar application. You are all muted by default. If you have any question, please type it in to the question pane. We will answer it immediately or during the webinar or end of the webinar. So what awaits you? I will talk very shortly about the highlights of version 22. Then I will pass the board to Adam and Janko to give you details about what is new in steel and concrete, and then again to Adam, who will talk about the BIM links. So what are the highlights? So from my point of view, for steel, it's definitely the connection browser, because you can model easy connection like in seconds thanks to it. For concrete, it's auto calculation of the self-weight of discontinuity regions in IDEA StatiCa Detail. You asked a lot about this functionality, so we did it, we developed it. And for the BIM links, I'm proud of telling you that we integrate a new BIM link with RAM structural system. And now is the time for the steel. So Adam, it's yours.
Yes, so I'll take the presenter.
I will switch the cameras.
Yes, and jump in the presentation. So once again, welcome, and let's take a look at what is new in our steel applications in this new version 22. So there's the complete overview. You can find detailed information, description, videos, and pictures in the release notes in our support center, in our web page. So I'll just briefly run through all of these, and then I'll show you some demos for the 3 best points from this list highlighted in orange. So let's go through it. Connection browser brings a new function, and that's the company set, and also improve filters to manage the proposed designs, and also right mouse button function as access to the connection browser. Then there's a new cutting method, surface all around. I'll demonstrate that to you, as well as the lateral-torsional restraint for members. Then there's a fatigue analysis improvement. There's a better, more precise and detailed display of the nominal stress on cross sections and so on. There's a new safety warning for through bolts for hollow sections. So there is a warning that what you should do, what you should be aware of. Another nice new feature regarding modeling is that now you can input a base plate, so a steel plate sitting on a concrete block without using anchors. So it's a contact only connection, a base plate sitting on concrete. Another important thing of this version regarding IDEA StatiCa connection application is that we decided to keep the loads in equilibrium function turned on as default. That's for precision and safety reasons. And besides that, we are continuously adding more materials to the library in our programs. Also, we are widening the range of the code checks within each national code and so on. So there are some news for that as well. Least but last, if you are interested in stiffness analysis, you can now print out the curve of the stiffness to DXF or a picture format or whatever. That's regarding the results output. All right, so let's take a look at the highlights. Number one is the connection browser. This has been updated. The new function company connection design set has been added to the connection browser. So what you can do with this, you can build up your company set of designs that you use for a particular project or that you use regularly for all your projects or whatever. This company set is shared with all your colleagues. Technically, it works that this is shared within your license group. So in your company, you have license for IDEA StatiCa that you use, and everybody with this license can see the shared company set of designs in connection browser. There are improved filters to filter out welded or bolted connections or whatever. Improved function, you can also select not only the whole joint, the whole connection with all its members, but you can select just a part if you wish that. And right mouse button, that's my favorite. You can very quickly connect one single member to another one with a proposed set of connections. So this all aims at spinning up your workflows. So let's see this in action. So I have prepared an example. There's a column and the whole connection with the beam IP 220. There are stubs modeled, and I'm going to use the connection browser. So I'm going to click on publish, select the company connection design set instead of my private set, and I will publish this designed connection to a company set. So it's right now in there. So imagine now another colleague of mine creates a design of such geometry, which is not exactly the same. There's a column with different cross-section, beam of different cross-section, and a pitch, so it's tilted, and completely different cross-section on the other side, also with some angle. So by this, I want to point out that these proposed designs don't have to stick exactly to the same cross-sections and geometry. So there are some tolerances. So I can apply, or my colleague can apply actually, the design I have published to this connection as well with different cross-sections and angles. So now let's see about the different approach. I can select just a part of the connection and select some of the public templates to create the connection. And the last and my favorite quick thing, right click, connect to, select the column, select the connection. There you go, fin plate in place. I will just polish it by another feature, which is the pre-design. At one click, it adjusts its size and position of bolts to a reasonable one. Of course, I can now optimize it even more, but I have as you could see, couple of seconds to complete the design of this connection. All right, that's speeding up with connection browser. Now the second highlight, surface all around cutting method. Basically, this is a perfect thing that you were missing and calling for, and we are delivering it now for tubes passing through another tube or hollow section. So basically, this cuts a hole in the cross section and welds the passing member to it. So this gives you, of course, new design possibilities. And let's see this. So here I have a column and a round cross-section, continuous member passing through it. With the old cutting method surface that I will demonstrate just right now. So cutting method surface here, you could see that produced often some unacceptable results. But now if I simply change to surface all around, this is looking much better, all okay, and it perfectly represents what I need to do. So here I can switch the weld that's inside the column, of course, and I'm done with the design. So surface all around cutting method. And another completely new operation that we called lateral torsional restraint. This is dedicated to members or part of members. This is typical for, let's say, beams that are supporting slabs or trapezoids, ceilings, or such things. So actually these members are stabilized by these slabs and cannot deformate or cannot undertake any lateral torsion logically. So this was also pretty hard to model in IDEA connection. That's why we came with this new operation. So by this you can limit this unwanted torsion of the parts of the beams. So this leads to even more precise models in IDEA StatiCa connection and member as well. So let's see example of usage of that. I have a continuous beam and a side beam connected to it, loaded by shear force and moment. That would logically lead to a torsion of that beam, but my main beam is held. So there's a slab above it, so it cannot rotate. How can I treat this? I select this new operational, add this, set it to the top flange of the main beam. Now this is supported along its length of the top flange. So if I calculate it again and see about the results and zoom in, so I can see now this stays horizontal and doesn't deformate. All right. Another usage is the purlin example. So I have the thin-walled C-shaped purlin sitting on a roof beam loaded by shear force, and if I calculate this purlin just loses its stability, deformates like that. Of course, there's a ceiling sitting on top of that, preventing this. So I will simulate this by adding the lateral torsional restraint. And in case there's a trapezoid panel, I can also switch to discrete and simulate the gaps between the trapezoid shape. So now if I turn on the deformations, I can see that the top flange of the C purlin is held more or less in place, and what deformates is just the rest of that. All right. That was for the demos, and one important information to point out is that what I mentioned, the loads in equilibrium, that's the button in the ribbon of IDEA StatiCa connection. This is now turned on as default. So now what you should do is to input all the internal forces to all members of your connection model. So what you have done before is still the same, just you don't miss the forces acting on the bearing member, typically the column. So this might lead in some scenarios to not precisely correct results, and to be perfectly safe in all scenarios, it's best to keep this on and input all internal forces on all members, right? Safe design, that's what we all want. All right, so let's sum it up. Version 22 for steel. What are benefits of this? Why to use it? Obviously, this brings you even more design possibilities with the new cutting method and new operations that we have there. Safer design with warnings for through bolts and loads in equilibrium on. And the most important, you can work faster with the connection browser. All right, now, Petra, you have prepared a poll for our attendees.
Yes, that's correct. So let me launch it. Adam, thank you for presenting news in steel. And now let's do the first poll. I would like to ask you, how do you model steel connections in IDEA StatiCa the most? Please select one possible answer. The choices are you model the whole connection from scratch, you use templates and design proposals, import connection via BIM links, or you don't model steel connection in IDEA StatiCa. So please vote. Tell us your opinion, your way, how you do it. So a few more seconds. And I will close the poll. You're still voting. Okay. Let's share the results. So the answers are quite balanced between or among these three options, and I'm quite happy that there's like 1% of you don't model steel connections IDEA StatiCa, which is awesome answer. So thanks. It's always good for us to know your opinion, your point of view. So I will hide it, and now I will pass the presenter to Janko, who will tell us what is new in concrete.
Thank you, Petra. I hope you can see my presentation and hear my voice well. Great, thanks. Okay, so I would like to say hello once again from my side and use my dedicated few minutes to present news related to our concrete apps. So I would like to pick out some of the most interesting highlights for you, because our development team managed to do a great progress within the version 22. But the most interesting highlights could be, as Petra already mentioned, the automatic self-weight calculation in detail application. So it's quite often requested feature, and it's finally here. also related to a detail application, we have quite a lot faster CSFM solver and also much more comprehensive results in our graphic scene. So I try to show you this new improvements. And for users of IDEA StatiCa member app, also great news about user interface enhancement for both better modeling and better displaying of graphic results. And worth of mentioning also the bulk import from DXF file to detail application, or short-term losses, automatic calculation for post-tension tendons related to geometry of the tendons, and for structural engineers dealing with Dutch projects, also implementation of new Dutch code into the RCS application, so influencing, for example, the minimum required reinforcement areas. And now in more detailed way to some of these improvements. So the automatic calculation of self-weight in detail application. So now we are able to add a new permanent load case with load impulse of solid weight. The parameters can be defined in settings, so you can change the direction of the force, you can change the gravity factor or coefficient, and yeah, it can be applied for the whole structure, for the whole model, as well as for the specific part of the member. And right now, small limitation, it's not available for trimmed models, but probably it will be there soon. And yeah, to this enhancement within the graphic results. So again, in detail application, much more detailed results. It means that in previous versions, the user could see only the critical, the maximum and minimum values for the forces in the graphic scene. And right now, it's much easier to estimate, or you don't have to estimate anymore the exact values for intermediate values. So right now, you can just easily hover over the model and see in the tooltip window or the right mouse button click, and you will get the result for the specific location. Or you can also display the chart of the specific value, which can be exported then into the graphic output, or CSV, some datasheet for the next use. And I have mentioned the faster calculations. So our developers implemented the new material model, which means that less iterations are necessary for successful calculation, and it improved the calculation time a lot. So here in the chart, you can see the comparison between the previous 21.1 version and the new 22. So the gray columns means the old version, the orange one are the new versions. So these times are compared, and the green columns represent the time savings. So up to 80%, mostly for pre-stressed and post-tensioned structures, and with more load combinations, it will be more significant. And now I would like to show you some example of these improvements directly in detail application. So I have already prepared some member. You can see some concrete reinforced roof girder with openings. the geometry and the reinforcement is already there, so I just edit the loads. I already inputted the permanent load, some variable and pre-stressing, and I would like to show you the new self-weight load case. So just simple add one load case. I can name it, to be recognized, and it has to be the permanent type of the load. And for this specific load, I need to add also some load impulse. So with the fourth, the last option, self-weight, very easily we can apply and select the position of self-weight. So whether it's the whole model or just some specific region. So I can leave it as a all for a whole beam. And now some load combination, just to check that all of the mentioned load cases are there. So I can see all 4 load cases with self-weight. So that's correct. I can apply and go directly to check tab because the model is prepared for calculation. So also the presentation of the calculation speed, it should be much quicker than in previous versions. And we have our answers, our results. So what about these improvements in the graphic scene? So I can jump into the strength tab and stresses for concrete. Better view will be, well, maybe without the reinforcement, and I will turn on the mesh on the model, and now you can see the maximum or minimum value of the concrete stress, but also this tooltip show us the specific values for the finite elements inside the mesh. And by zooming in and using the context menu of right mouse button, we can see the chart for the specific location, and we can export it as a bitmap, DXF, or as a data spreadsheet CSV file. The same could be applied also for reinforcement. So we can select some specific reinforcement bar, some stirrup, for example, and display the detailed chart for this point. Yeah, we can see it here. Also, it can be exported into the our report or the further analysis. So this could be it for our presentation of detailed improvements and now enhancement in member application. So for those of you using our member for concrete structures, it can be very much easier to work with it because some enhancement related to modeling part are there now in version 22. So now displaying of specific nodes and members are much more straightforward in 3D scene. We can use the context menu also here. So some editation of reinforcement or input of loads can be done easily by the mouse click. And yes, we can move on to improvements related to this result part of analysis. So quite new is the new overall code check option in the results. So now you can display in the 3D scene the results for both concrete assessments and reinforcement. And we can draw overall results for every analysis, so material, nonlinear, or geometrical nonlinear analysis, as well for the local buckling analysis and deformation. So for deformed shaped, you can select for each direction or as a summation of all the formations at once. So again, quick demo, we can see some part of concrete frame. It's a view into the Checkbot app where the structure was imported from a FEA, third-party application. So we have structure and forces, and we can open the bottom column in member app, where we should see the same structure as in Checkbot. So here it is, and the column is B17 member. And we can show the right-click context menu, new option of editing the column parameters, so the cross-section and material, as well as input of intermediate node, adding line or point load, or edit the reinforcement. So very similar to RCS application, we can use a template for reinforcement cage. We can add some new edge bars and apply. And as you are probably used to from RCS application, you can edit all the elements of the reinforcement cage here, and yeah, automatically you can see everything in the 3D scene. So all the rebars are there and can be selected. So right now also for loads, you can see some improvements within the visualization of load arrows, so new scale and ratios between point loads and line loads, and it can be turned on and off for every load case and every part of the reinforcement. So you can edit it in the property grid or select in 3D scene and activate or deactivate in this checkbox. So the same for reinforcement as for load combinations in this navigator tree. So now we have our model prepared and we can run the calculation for nonlinear analysis. It could be also quite quick, and we should get overall results at first, so we can see the summary of concrete and reinforcement results for every active load combination. So it's a traffic light color system again, and result also in the right side of the screen. We can see stresses on concrete, so it's represented by color scale on the concrete surface, and also deformed shapes. So for a better visualization, we can change the scale of the formation, and yeah, as well as for stress, we can turn on the stress check strain and strain check. So it's the same color system, and as well for reinforcement. So the colors represent the stress of reinforcement on every and each reinforcement bar. And yeah, we can show also the 3D values of support reactions and run the local buckling analysis. So linear buckling analysis for the eigenvalues for every load combination. So we should get our first eigenvalues and factors, and we can see the deformation for every single shape from these 6 values. So that's it for the presentation of improvements in member app, and we can move on to some summarization of benefits from concrete application. So most of all, I think we can now minimize some risk of errors due to auto calculation of self-weight. It's much easier now to explore the structure model inside the detail application with this comprehensive results. We can save some time with improved, faster CSFM solver also in detail application. And for those working with IDEA StatiCa member app, it's quite faster thanks to context menu and new checkboxes, and we can get clearer and more comprehensive results also in member. Now I would like to at this point bring the word back into the studio to Petra and move to the next poll.
Janko, thank you for sharing with us the news in concrete. Now is the time for the second poll. The question is, for what kind of concrete structures do you use IDEA StatiCa the most? Only one option possible again. So either it is for reinforced concrete beams and columns, or for code checks of discontinuity regions, or pre-stressed structures, or you don't use IDEA StatiCa for concrete at all. So please vote. Express your opinion. So I will leave you voting few last seconds. Okay, and let's share the results. So unfortunately, we can see that most of you don't use IDEA StatiCa for concrete. So I don't know the reason. Maybe you don't design concrete structures at all, or you use different tools. Maybe it's time for change. Maybe it's time for looking for other solutions which provides IDEA StatiCa concrete. So watch us, focus on our webinars also for concrete, and maybe you will change your opinion. Okay, and now we are entering the third part, which would be about the BIM links. So I will pass the floor to Adam again.
Yes, so I'll take the presenter and switch to my screen while Petra was cheering for using more the concrete applications since she's a part of concrete team. All right, but now let's continue with the news in version 22 for BIM links. That means the application Checkbot that serves as the main all-in-one application to manage the BIM links and imports from different softwares into IDEA StatiCa. So what are news here? We have developed completely new BIM link with RAM structural system that would please probably mostly our US customers. But besides that, there's a new link with Tekla Structure Designer and Strap that was developed on their site. And this is working well with IDEA StatiCa software. Then there is a new option in Checkbot to synchronize just one item, just one connection, instead of synchronizing all imported connections with the source global model, either CAD or structural model, of course. Then 3 highlights that I will comment in a minute. So eccentrically connected members are now possible to import, export of editable files, and that means bulk print of reports. That's a great improvement that I love. And then remembering edit user operations after importing a connection from CAD software. Then we have improved the conversion options for materials and cross sections. That means if you are importing from, let's say, a structure model in ETABS where you have some special cross section, then you can easily converse this into some different one in Checkbot on the way. All is visible all the time, accessible, editable, manageable, very in user-friendly way. Then for our expert users or bigger companies that develop their own software links with IDEA StatiCa, so we have this IOM, open platform, as the open API to connect any software to IDEA StatiCa. This has been improved with more options like code setup, settings, cost estimations, decimal separator that can be all adjusted and worked with. All right, so now about the highlight. Import of eccentrically connected members. That means you have a diagonal, for example, in a frame corner like on the picture. This diagonal has eccentricity in your structure model. And now you can import this to Checkbot and merge these two nodes. That means the main node of the frame joint and the node for the diagonal connecting to the column. This will become one node, all loads and everything is updated and correctly displayed. So this is this gives you more options for import now. You can also add, if you forget to select some node in your global structure, or in Tekla, for example, you can add it after in Checkbot as well. Let's see this in action. So I have in a structure model in my structure software, I have imported 4 nodes. 2 of them I have already designed and calculated, and I have 2 more here. I have missed 1 node to import it, but I don't have to go back to my structure model. I can edit by this command directly in Checkbot. So it's this footing of the column, so I can open it, use, for example, the connection browser, add some design of a base plate, and I can, adjust this, calculate whatever I like. So I leave this for now, and I'll focus on the second node, which is here, the diagonal with eccentricity. So what I will do is delete this item from the list and select the main node and add the diagonal to the node. Click load update to refresh the internal forces, to update them with the diagonal forces. And if I open it, I can see it's all in place. So I can again use connection browser and select some proposed design to model this quickly. All right, so this is now done. I just said the bearing member will be the column, save it. I can even more optimize, calculate. Okay, calculate all the connections now from the Checkbot, for example. All right, then the second highlight, export of editable files. So once I import connections from, for example, SAP 2000 or whatever software I have to this list of project items, I can now save them as either separate files, for example, on my desktop, or I can select all of them and save them into one single project file with multiple connections inside. What are consequences of this? First is that it unlocks the possibility to edit the geometry fully. So once I export connections to files, I can change cross sections, move members, move plates, and whatever I want to do. Another consequence is that if I have the single project type with multiple connections, I can calculate them all at once and print out the report at once for all the connections in one document, which is great. I'll show you in a second how it looks like. So this actually brings you possibility to work in two modes. One mode is the connected or locked mode, where you work only in Checkbot and you can synchronize any changes with the source software and everything is linked. Another mode is the editable or unlocked mode, where you import the connections to Checkbot and then you save them into files and you can edit them freely, do what you want, whatever, but then you cannot synchronize anymore with the source model data. So work faster with no limits, do what you wish. Now see how this looks. So I have these 4 connections of my structure and I will export them now to separate files. I will select my desktop and let's see, I have 4 separate connection files that I can open, send to somebody, or do what I like. Another option is the single project. So again, to my desktop, I will type the name of the file, single project file. Here it is. If I open it, I can see this is the footing I have just designed, and I have all 4 connections from my Checkbot in this one single file, which is great because what I can do now is go to the menu, click calculate all, let this all calculated, all 4 connections and all its loads effects at once in one click, and then go to report, and here I can either select current connection or all connections in my file or select it. Here I can choose which connection items I want to include in my report, refresh, and here I can see that I have a report that includes 3 of the connection items. So I don't have to print out a report for each of them separately, which is great because it saves me a lot of time, and that's what I like. Last thing, remember user operations that were added in connection after import. So once you import the connection from Tekla, you add, for example, a stiffener because you as a structure engineer feel that the designer forgot this and it needs some strengthening. And then the source project in Tekla has some changes from the designer. You can synchronize these changes without losing your stiffeners that you added manually. So you can, this brings you more possibility to optimize the imported connections. So let's see how it looks. I have in Tekla a connection of this frame joint, and I will import it to a Checkbot. So I will select the node, the members, and all connection items. Okay. Now it's in the Checkbot, so I can open it. And once I open it, I decide I want to add some stiffeners to the column. So I will choose the stiffener operation, modify it to get the end stiffener that is welded on top of the column end, and add another stiffener to the bottom flange of the beam level in the column. All right, now I'm satisfied. I save it, close it. I can calculate or whatever. And now the designer makes some changes in the shared TECLA model. For example, he removes some bolts. So now I don't have to import that all again, but I just click synchronize and update my connection model with these changes. So now if I open it, I can see that the stiffeners are still in place and the bolts are reduced as per the TECLA model changes. All right, that was the last demo. More info about the update of the currently supported versions of the softwares that we are linked to. You can find this tab in our webpage, in the support center, in the release notes for this version, etc. So it's accessible for you to see. And to sum this part for BIM links up, its benefits. So the purpose of our improvements were to give you more freedom and proactivity by using Checkbot and other BIM links. So it can be more efficient, save time by printing bulk report for all connections the way that I demonstrated. You can do more with possibility to import eccentric members, merging, adding nodes in Checkbot, and you can work freely with the imported connections if you save them in a file. All right, that was for the presentation part. We're coming to an end of this webinar. Now there's a questions and answers part.
Okay.
So Petra, would you
Yes.
pick some questions?
Thank you for your questions. We got
No.
lots of them. Let me mention at least 2 or 3. I think quite interesting question was, how can I use the lateral torsional restraint in member? So Adam, will you take it?
Okay, I can answer this. So the in short, it's yes. The lateral-torsional restraint, as I demonstrated for IDEA connection, this is also included in IDEA StatiCa member, and you can use it as an, if you select the analyzed member, then right-click, add new operation, and there you have the stiffeners, plates, and so on. And also next to that, there is this new operation, lateral torsional restraint. It works exactly the same as in connection. So it's included in member as well. Okay.
All right, thanks. And another one, when I publish template in connection browser, is it safe on my computer or somewhere in the cloud? How does it work?
Yes, I'm just reading this question as well here in the list. So this works, again, in short, it's cloud-based, so everything is in cloud. So once you run or open IDEA connection, you are logged in with your account, with your credentials, username and password into IDEA, right, on your computer. So if you publish any design to connection browser, so either private or company set, it's stored in the cloud, not on your computer. So anytime you log out and you travel somewhere and log in a different computer with your account, you can see your designs in your connection browser. Yeah. So I hope this answered the question. And is there anything more, Petra?
Maybe there was a question about the checkbot, if it works for concrete. Yes, there was specifically named Axis and SIA engineers, so it works with Axis, SIA, and maybe RFM, I'm not sure. But yeah, basically SAP 2000, all these fair software, not CAD software yet.
Mhm. All right.
So I guess we can move on since we do not have much time left.
Oh, yes.
So the rest of the questions will be answered via email if we miss it here or like right now. What do we have here? If you would like to investigate more about the version 22, just visit our website. Let me show you where to do it. So visit ideastatica.com, and if you scroll down, there's this section dedicated to a new version. If you click on this link, you can read all the highlights, download the newest version, turn on the videos where we explain the new features. And at the end of this web page, there is also release notes. So not just the highlight, but all other improvements, smaller improvements are explained here in each section, so you can really dig into details. So let's go back to the presentation. After the webinar, please fill out the short survey. Let us know if you like it or not, this webinar. We will place the recording in our support center and on our YouTube channel. If you haven't downloaded the trial version, please do it. It's you can find it at our website, and in the support center you will find a lot of tutorials, articles, release notes, etc. Next webinars are coming in May and June. On 11th of May, we're preparing a webinar for concrete. It will be about design and check of staircase slab or beam in IDEA StatiCa Detail. And in June, you can look forward to seeing something from the connection, from the series Connection Wednesdays. So, sorry, this is all from our side. So thank you for watching us and have a great day.
Enjoy version 22. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a nice rest of the day and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.